What is poppin', y'all? That's right. It is Jerry from Team Unco Studios back again with another MPC Beats very basic tutorial for you guys using the MPC Beats software and the Akai MPK Mini. All right, the day has finally arrived. We've kind of took everything that we've learned through the tutorials and now we're ready to start applying it and actually making some music, all right? So let's go ahead and jump right into this. I'm going to explain a lot of stuff on this tutorial. If you start to get lost, we have a playlist of all the different things that show you where things are and everything. We're trying to cover as many bases as we possibly can on these tutorials. But ultimately, it's about making music and starting to get sound into our, system here and start to play with things and have fun, because that's what music should be about. It should just be about having fun. All right. So if you take a gaze into my screen here, you will notice that I've kind of got just this template that I kind of use here sometimes at the studio. It's just got some drums, some keys, some bass, nothing super special. Again, you guys, these names will probably change here, as I start to put instruments in and whatnot. We're going to use just plugins on this one. We're not going to really use any sample editing or anything or any kind of key groups. We're just going to kind of keep it very basic, all right? But before we get into that, we're going to establish a few things, all right? Before we get into actually doing this, we're going to kind of establish a couple of things. Thing number one is we want to make sure that all of our operating systems are running the way that we want them to. What I mean by that is if you go up to your top little browser here for your Mac, which is what I'm using, you bring down your MPC Beats and you go to your preferences. We want to make sure that our ins and outputs are all good. We've got sound coming through. Okay, my MIDI is on and everything looks good. I've got my control on for my MPK Mini. This all looks good to me right here, okay? And the reason why we want to check that stuff is if you start to get into a groove here and it's kind of coming to you, you don't want to get stuck dealing with system problems. It's just the worst when you've got a good idea and then you're having to deal with all this stuff, that comes along with it, especially if you have clients in your studio. Always, always a bad thing. So that's the thing number one we want to check is our preferences. The second thing we want to do is we want to go down to our MIDI learn, okay? And we want to bring up our MIDI learn and make sure that our cue links and all of our pads are enabled, okay? So I've got enable here on my Akai MPK Mini, and now I should be ready to rock and roll. And the way to test that is if you go back to your little home mode here and you bring up your control console and go ahead and move your furthest left bottom cue link should be K5 and your program level there should be moving. If you guys notice where I'm at there, okay, that should be moving. That's a good indicator that we've got everything firing on all cylinders. All right, so now we're rocking. So now let's go ahead and get into making some music, right? So there's tons of different ways we can go about this step, you guys. We can just start laying stuff down and just kind of winging it, right? We do that, and I do that all the time. We're going to kind of keep things a little more organized for this, and we're going to kind of keep things a little more simple. So the simple way to do it would just be to establish a BPM right now. Now, if you remember from my other tutorials, a BPM is your beats per minute. That just means how many clicks there are going to be within a 1 minute time span, okay? So typically when you are using any kind of software or any kind of DAW software, usually the default is 120 BPM, right? So if you go ahead and go back to the screen here, you'll notice that is what the default setting is here as well for MPC Beats. So if we go ahead and play that, we want to make sure our metronome is on there and it will sound something like this. Okay, so that's a little fast, and I might not want to write something at 120 BPM, right? I might want to do something slower. So again, from my other tutorials, if you guys should know how to tap tempo, which if you're hearing something in your head and it's, click, 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 just tap on this little guy that says tap here, click, 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 and it's going to put you in the ballpark of where your idea of your BPM is for your song in your head is going to be at, okay? I hope that makes sense. It's giving you the idea of where you're kind of fitting into the BPM map there, so to say, all right? But we're gonna go ahead and go back to 120, okay? So 120 is our BPM right now. Okay, so just to keep this simple, we're just gonna lay something down over the 120 BPM. All right. So let's go ahead and go back to our track view here and make sure that we are on our first track, which I want, which is drums. Okay. And now I'm going to bring up my inspector, and now I've got all my track information here. All right. So I've already got a preloaded kit here. So let's just go ahead and throw in this hip hop kit. All right. So I've kind of got this preloaded thing going on. This is my BPM. Okay. So my BPM is pretty fast, but we're going to go ahead and try to just lay something down to this. So I would kind of rehearse it a little bit here first, right? So okay, so once I got a general idea of kind of what I want, I'm going to go ahead and go shift record, okay? And I'm going to put my record in standby. Now, a rule to this as well is you want to make sure that your record metronome is on, okay? Because sometimes the record metronome is not on, and right when you're getting ready to lay down the idea, you don't have any metronome there and it's just silent. Now, you can do that, and people can do that without the metronome there. Sometimes I'll do it, sometimes I won't. Really, it's to each their own. You guys choose what you want to do. But if you don't hear it during record and you want it on, make sure that you just turn the metronome on for when you are recording. Okay. So we got it in standby. We're going to get the 4 clicks and we're going to kind of just go into it. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so a couple of things happened here. So if you noticed here, some of my first guys here kind of got a little bit off of the timeline there, all right? So what I would do in this case is I would probably just highlight these guys right here, and I would just roll them over onto the beat, and now they should be on time. So you can see we've got a couple more here that are just one off there, okay? So we'll go ahead and bring these guys over. And now I should have everything right on time. As you can see, everything is kind of, either hitting a line or like right where I want it to fall with inside the quarter beat here, okay? Okay, so that sounds good. That's pretty much where I want this to kind of fall and where I want it to be. So the other rule with this is you also want to make sure that you have your time correct on. Okay, I am using time correct, so it's snapping to the closest, quarter or beat or whatever, grid you happen to be working with. It's snapping to that closest one, okay? So my timing is not perfect. I just am using the time correct, all right? But now that I've got something established here, right, where I can hear it. So for me, that's a little bit fast, right? So this is why it's important to pick this BPM right out of the gate, right? Or you can just use the defaulted BPM. Because with MIDI, I can change this pattern now and slow it down and speed it up, at my will. So let's say I want this slowed down. Let's say I want this now at 100. Okay, so I'm going to put 100 up here. And now as you notice, my grid has now snapped everything to what it would be if I was playing 100 BPM. Okay, so let's hear that. I like that. Okay, so now we've got something that I'm like, okay, I'm feeling creative now. I can create over this, all right? Typically what I would do at this point is I would either open another track and start laying something freestyle down over it, or I would see what comes with this program folder here. So if you go ahead and just go to your bank B, and it looks like I have some chops or something here. So it's probably got some kind of samples here. So, okay. Okay. So we can now just lay samples down over this, and it's going to sound already like we've got something going here. So again, let's go ahead and go Shift R and go into our standby mode. And now we're just going to lay some samples down over this and just see what it sounds like. Here we go. Okay, so that sounds pretty cool. I mean, we're already kind of got like a whole little thing going on here, you know? So I would say we'd probably add some hi-hat in here. So let's go back to our bank A. So we'll add some hi-hat now. So go shift record. So now I might want to add a little bit of extra stuff there to my hi-hat. So now at this point, I'm just kind of adding some flavor there, right? So let's say this is what we wanted. Let's say this is what I wanted for track one, right? This sounds good to me right here. This is what I'm going to keep for track one as the beginning of my song. The next thing I'm going to want to do after I've kind of established what I want is I'm going to name this now. So now I'm going to come back to my track here and I'm going to say I want this to be, let's say, hip hop kit 88. Okay, so now again, I've got these established where I know what is what here, okay? My track is basically the same label as my program here, all right? So now when I go back to my track view, I will not get confused on what program I need here in order to get this sound. Okay, so now where we are right now at this point of the song is where I would call, or what I would call it, would be detaching your BPM, which means now it's safe to probably turn your metronome off, okay? So we can go ahead and take this metronome now and turn it off and now listen to what our song sounds like at the BPM that we have chosen for it and kind of, you know, start to go from there on to the next step of adding some more melody. Okay, so this is what we've got with no metronome. And that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool little 4-bar loop there, okay? So let's go ahead and go to our second track here, all right? So I've got a key track here that is not anything special. I've got some electric ballad here, and let's go ahead and just try to, you know, try to add something into this here. So first thing we're gonna wanna do is kind of figure out where we are at key-wise. So you're gonna kind of just rehearse a little bit here and figure out kind of what key and where you're at here. Okay, so I kind of started plucking away on the keys a little bit, and I've kind of got something in my head of what I want, okay? So I'm going to go Shift R here, all right? And we're going to go ahead and just lay a little something down here. Okay, and that sounds cool. We've got just kind of a little thing going here, you know. Now, mind you, with this, you guys, if you remember in the plugins video, we can also change this sound now that we've got this keyboard in there. We can actually go in and change this sound and it will actually now change the plugin and the sound of what we've got here. Or I can just change it to a completely different sound now. So let's go ahead and try that. Now that I've got this MIDI information here, let's go ahead and find out what keys we want for this MIDI information that we just put in, all right? So I go ahead and play the track. Okay, so we kind of made a couple adjustments there, nothing super major. We just kind of adjusted a couple of things and that was it. That sounds cool. I like it. It sounds, like something I'm kind of starting to get there. So let's go ahead and move on now to the next track. All right. So now I'm going to go to bass here. And now I've got my bass in and I've just got, I don't even know what I've got here. That doesn't sound bass. So I'm going to go ahead and shift down on my MPK Mini an octave. Oh, that's close. Oh, maybe one more. There we go. Okay, so I shifted down 2 octaves on my MPK Mini. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and start to kind of lay some bass into this and just see where it goes here. Okay, so I'm kind of following a little bit of the same pattern there, just kind of, going off and trying to make the root notes kind of stick out a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and shift R, and we want to make sure we're going to go ahead and have our track on bass, and it is, and here we go. Okay, so there I kind of had a couple of flub ups here, and we could probably just fix this. We could go through and just fix this if we wanted to, but I'm just going to go Command Z and just get rid of that and try it again. Here we go. And that's basically how it's done, you guys. I mean, that's pretty much it. If you notice now, we go back to our track view here, we've basically got something kind of pasted down on every track here. And this only took us a few minutes. And if you play it, I mean, it's really that simple, I mean, there's not really too much more about it than that, you guys. I hope this was helpful for you guys, and it's going to kind of start to get you into creating your own music and being able to kind of step into, the different things that it takes to kind of start a song out and establish, your BPM and kind of which direction you want to take it, right? So, one more little extra thing I'm going to show you guys here. So if, let's say this is my sample now, I've got a 4-bar sample here and I want to keep this sample. All right. Let's say I want to go ahead and make it, like a song that I can listen to and start writing some lyrics over or whatever. What I'm going to go ahead and do next is I'm going to copy this or duplicate it, right? Which is the way that it does it in MPC Beats here. You can either copy it or you can just duplicate it. I'm just going to go ahead and choose to duplicate it. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to my edit, and then I'm going to come down to my track here. Okay. And oh, I'm sorry, actually it's my sequence. And then I'm going to go ahead and double this length. So now instead of having the 4, I've got 8. And now I'm going to turn this 8 into 16. All right. So again, if we go here to edit, we go down to sequence, and then I'm going to double the length again. And now I've got 16, and I'm going to actually go one more here. Okay. And I'm going to turn this in to a 32-bar loop now that I have. So I can listen to it on my phone and be able to do all of that good stuff, right? Now, let's say I want an MP3 breakdown of this, okay? We're going to do 2 ways of saving stuff on here. We're going to save an MP3 somewhere, and then we are going to save the song in our MPC Beats folder, right? So in order to do that, let's save the song first. So if you go ahead and go Command S on your keyboard, you're going to find that the save project folder is going to pop up, all right? So most people would think you're just going to throw a file name here and say, this is Jerry's new song or whatever. No, we're not going to do that. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make a folder for this song, all right? So you're going to go to new folder first before you actually go to what the file is in the folder, all right? And let's go ahead and call this this today. I don't know. We'll call it this today. All right. So now I'm going to go do it. All right. Now I have created a folder for everything that I want to go in it. All right. So now I'm going to title my file here. Okay. Today. Okay, now I've got this today, which is my file name now, which is going to go into this folder here, okay, labeled, and I'm going to go ahead and go save. Now, when you go back into your file browser just on your desktop, you'll go to MPC Beats, and then you will be able to pick up that folder that is called This Today. So if you go and get that folder out now, your project information will be in there. It's important for when you are, doing files with other people and stuff like that, and importing and exporting. You want to make sure that you are keeping things in a file or creating files for stems or whatever that you happen to be dropping to somebody else. Now, in MP3. So let's go ahead and say I want to get this now and I want to MP3 this. First thing you're going to do is you're going to go Command S and save, okay? Always Command S before you do an MP3 so you know what's currently on your screen is what is going to be in your MP3. Now we're going to go ahead and go back to our file browser here, and this time we are going to go to File, and we are going to go to Export, and then we are going to go to Export as Audio Mixdown, all right? So now that we've got our audio mixdown screen up here, you can go ahead and choose to do any one of these things and change things or whatever. For right now, the only place where we are going to go is to this little file format boxes here, and we are going to turn this into an MP3 instead of a WAV file. We're also going to change the bit rate to 320. We want it running at a nice high quality bit rate, okay? Might take up a little bit more information, but it's okay. It's going to be better for you in the long run, all right? Now we are going to go ahead and hit export. Now that we've exported, what this screen is telling me is, where do you want me to save this MP3? I personally put the MP3s right on my desktop so I can pull them right off and I know where they're at. I don't have to look for them, all right? So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now you can also put it wherever you want. You can put it on a thumb drive, you can put it on an external drive, wherever. This is the screen where it's going to tell you to do that, all right? And the way that you do that is if you go to this little arrow guy right here and you drop this guy down, okay? It's going to give you options of where you want to save it at. Now, right now where I'm saving it is in that folder that I had created called This Today, right? It's saving it there, but I don't want it to save it there. I want it to save it right onto my desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Desktop, and then I'm going to go ahead and say I want it saved, and now it is going to go ahead and save to my desktop, all right? And so now if I go ahead and minimize this, and I go and look here, you will notice that I've got This Today here, and I'm going to go ahead and tell my Apple Music to play it. And that's the song we just created right now in like a few minutes, So it's as simple as that, you guys. I hope you guys, got anything you could out of this video. I'm trying to make them as simple as I can for you guys and girls. I'm trying to make it, easy for everyone to follow. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Thank you again, you guys, for the love and the support. We appreciate everything and all the feedback that we get from everybody. Be on the lookout for more videos, more creation videos. We might do a second part of this video so we can start to get into some mixing techniques. We're also going to start doing some automation stuff, sequencing, arrangement. Now that we know how to make a song, how do I arrange it to drop things in and out? That'll probably be the next video coming out, all right? So hopefully you guys are having a wonderful and awesome week. Everybody out there, we love you. Peace and love from all of us at Team Uncoordinated, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.